In this video, we're going to talk about what are biases and representative samples when you are taking a survey or do an experiment in statistics. So there's a few factors that are going to wind up ruining experiments, and the first one is going to be confounding variables. Confounding essentially just means conflicting, and it's an extraneous variable. It's going to change the outcome of your survey. So for example, let's say you wanted to know if people were going to attend the homecoming game. However, it starts to rain, and now there's a heavy rainstorm. You are not going to be able to tell if people don't show up, do people not like football, or did they not come because it rained? So there's kind of like this outside factor that's going to contribute to skewing the results of your survey. The second thing is a placebo effect, and it's when a fake treatment is given to a person and it has an effect on that person. So for example, if you were doing a weight loss shot survey and it's just saline, but somehow the person loses 20 pounds, that is called the placebo effect. Now, if you want to get unbiased results, you could do a few options. The first one is going to be blinding. This is where the participants are unaware of what factors are changing in the survey. So for example, if you were doing a Pepsi versus a Coke taste test, you're not going to say, hey, taste this Pepsi and then taste this Coke and see which one tastes better. You're going to say, here's drink A and here's drink B. Which one do you think tastes better? You can also have a double-blind experiment, and that is when the participants and the researchers are both unaware. So an example of that would be patients either receive or don't receive a placebo, and they don't know if they have received the vaccine or not received the vaccine. In addition, and what's going to make it a double-blind experiment, is that the doctors don't know who received what, and they're still going to treat and observe the patients for symptoms that they report. Here's a few questions that you can test to see if you can spot if there is a biased way of sampling. Number one, it says 8 citizens are asked their opinions about what trash should be collected. This is going to be a biased sample. It's not a large enough option. It's not a large enough sample. Number 2, it says a phone-in survey is taken by a radio station to see how many listeners enjoy listening to rap in the music. This is a biased sample. 1, it is voluntary, and 2, you're only asking people who listen to rap to call in to this specific radio station. Every 40th student who enters the school is asked to name their favorite sport. That is an unbiased way of asking. That's systematic. 100 students are randomly selected to participate in a survey about home computer usage. That is unbiased. Each math class randomly selects 2 students to represent an advisory panel being assembled by the principal. So this is biased because you're only asking math classes. You would have to ask every class in the school and pick 2 people from each of those classes. A shirt manufacturer wants to check the quality control of their products. The plant manager decides to check every 5th shirt inspected by Inspector D. There are 15 inspectors in the plant. This is hopefully very obvious that this is bias because you're only doing Inspector D. Lastly, a survey is conducted at the local shopping mall about household products being used on a daily basis. That is biased, and it's because it's a convenience sample. Now, there's a few ways to make sure that your samples are actually going to be representative of the entire population. The first thing is that it has to be randomly selected, so you should not be using a voluntary or a convenience sampling method, and it should be about 10% of the population, but it does not need to be more than 1,000 people. So, are these samples representative? If not, state why. To determine the percentage of teenagers with long hair, Teen Magazine published a mail-in questionnaire that should raise a red flag. Of the 500 respondents, 85 have shoulder-length hair or longer. But this is not representative because it's a mail-in or a voluntary survey. A college psychology professor needs subjects for a research project to determine which colors average Americans adults find restful. From the 743 students taking Intro to Psych at her school, she selects 25 students using a random number table. So it is random, but the next thing you have to ask is 25 out of 743 students representative of the entire population? And the answer is no, because that's less than 10%. To evaluate the reliability of cars owned by its subscribers, Consumer Reports magazine publishes a yearly list of automobiles and the frequency of repair records. The magazine collects the information by mailing a questionnaire to subscribers and tabulating the results from those who return it. This should also raise a red flag to you. No, because it is mail-in/voluntary, so it has that bias as well. Oranges from a grove are needed to be sampled to see if they are sweet enough for juice. The grove has 25,000 orange trees. Each tree has at least 500 oranges. Claire decides to randomly choose 800 trees and test 2 oranges from each tree. So she's going to choose 800 trees times 2 oranges per tree. She's going to have 1,600 oranges. 1,600 oranges is a big enough sample, and they were also randomly selected. The next one says, for a student of survey opinions about school athletic programs, a member of the school board obtains a sample of students by listing all the students in the school and using a random number generator to select 30 of them. 6 of the students say they don't have time to participate and are excused from the survey. So this would have been a good sample. However, you can't just let 6 people not be in the survey. So those 6 people that were dismissed were needed for this sample. There are 15 juniors and 15 seniors in a math class. Each student's name is placed in a hat and the names are thoroughly mixed. 7 names are drawn and all the names are seniors in the class. Now this one's a little bit tricky because this should have been a good sample. It would have been representative, but somehow only seniors got picked. It's possible that happened. It's a very small percentage, like a very small probability that actually would happen, but you should redraw the names.
That's all for this video. As always, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You can find this resource along with many others on my Teachers Pay Teachers, which is Math with B.